Welcome to our first live forum of the year 2025. I am Winsome Sharia Whittle, and I'm honored to guide you through this important conversation. It's a pleasure to have you join us as we kick off 2025 with valuable insights and practical strategies to prioritize safety throughout this year in our different spaces. But before we dive in, I'd like to thank our forum partner, the Area 3 Police, representing the Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth divisions for their continued collaboration and demonstrated dedicated commitment to community safety. We also express our sincerest gratitude to our forum sponsor, National Self-Serve Wholesale in Maypen, Clarendon, whose unwavering support since 2021, when we first started, has helped make these live forums possible. At Serenity Resource Connector, we are committed to empowering communities through education, resources, and meaningful discussions like this one that we're about to have. We aim to build safer and more resilient communities together. So for this forum, our theme, New Year Safe for You, is all about starting 2025 with a proactive approach to safety. Just as you'd secure your home before a storm or buckle up before a drive, which we hope you do each time you drive, this forum equips you with the tools and strategies to prepare for life's unexpected challenges. We'll explore three key areas. One, personal safety. Our Area 3 Territorial Officer, ASP Melecia Morrison, no stranger to this space, will share everyday tips for staying vigilant and secure. She'll also share on our second area, home security, affordable, effective ways to safeguard your home. And three, public safety technology. The sub-officer in charge of the program, that's the JamaicaEye program, Corporal Alex Pierce, will share insights into JamaicaEye and how it's transforming community safety. So think of this session as a toolkit. By the end, we hope that you'll walk away with practical actions to strengthen your safety, whether at home or in public spaces. We'll also take your questions as always, so stay tuned for the Q&A segment and be sure to share your thoughts in the chat. And stick with us to the end as we have introduced something new for 2025 where we ask for your feedback. We ask you to participate in our survey, very brief survey at the end of the forum to help us improve and tailor future sessions to your needs, because it's all about building the community. If you have not yet done so, go ahead and share the link so others can join us as we gear up to get safer in 2025. All right, already I'm seeing JP Anderson, seeing Shanette, William Hutchinson joining us. New Year's greetings to you too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get the discussion started with ASP Melecia Morrison. Welcome back, ASP.
Thank you for having me again, Mrs. Whittle. It is always a pleasure being here, sharing with our community members on how they can remain safe and highlighting issues affecting us in Area 3.
Awesome. And thank you so much. We have already done the outline for 2025, not cast in stone, but thank you so much for ensuring that we get things off on the right footing. And speaking of that, let's start with personal safety and awareness strategies. So as we begin the year, what are the top safety challenges individuals and communities are facing in Area 3, and how can we overcome them together?
When we look at last year, and what we'll do a comparison with last year and 2023 to have an idea of where we are. And if going forward, if we are to safely navigate 2025, we must address these ongoing safety and security concerns. The most prominent of this is crime. This includes violent crimes, and it also includes acquisitive crimes. Now, last year, 2024, Area 3 recorded 151 murders, and this spans Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth. 128 shootings, 72 rapes, 71 aggravated assaults, 151 robberies, 281 break-ins, and 26 larcenies. Now, when we analyze murder, which has one of the most devastating impacts on any community, we realize that of the 151 cases, 49% stemmed from interpersonal conflict, 25% from gang activity, 10% was attributed to they occurred during the course of other criminal activity, and the remaining 16% was either a mobbing or the cause of it was undetermined. Now, the fact that nearly half of our murders stem from interpersonal conflict points to a lack of effective conflict resolution mechanisms. It suggests to us that we lack the skills or the resources to navigate disagreements peacefully. When we look at our over 450 acquisitive crimes, we noted that some of them contributed to our murder figures, and this highlights the interconnectedness of crime. Now, how can we effectively address this? Addressing crime within our communities requires collaboration between the police and citizens. It is through collaboration in 2024 that we were able to make tremendous strides in reducing serious and violent crimes, which went down by 175 cases compared to 2023. Murders, we had 38 less cases, 8 less cases of shootings, 5 less cases of aggravated assaults, and 129 less cases of acquisitive crimes. This was only made possible not just by the hard work of police officers, but by the input of our community members and our partners. This year, we wish to continue on this trend of collaboration, and it is crucial so that we are able to determine the underlying factors that drives crime within our communities. We have to ask ourselves, is it trauma? Is it poverty? Is it unemployment, or is it a lack of opportunity? Because without knowing the cause, we will not be able to craft effective strategies. It is also necessary for us to work together for effective threat assessment. When we analyze threats, we aim to identify potential offenders and victims. We look at emerging trends and methods of offending and communities requiring special attention. This allows us to be proactive in developing sustainable strategies, which can be implemented over the long term to address the root cause and prevent these crimes from occurring in the future.
All right, quite a bit there. And just to share with our viewers that some of the areas mentioned, we are not just talking about it, but we are going to be delving deeper into some of the solutions that are being proposed later on as we progress through the year. So let's go on over now to some daily personal safety habits that we can adopt to stay safe in public spaces during routine activities like commuting or shopping, or just in your community in general. What are some practices that we can adopt?
Sometimes when we think of safety and security, we tend to imagine some elaborate scheme, but there are some very simple adjustments that we can make to our routines to keep us safer. And one of the first things that we can do is to be situationally aware. We have to be present, not just physically, but also mentally. Many of us, we are out on the streets and we are thinking about the things that we have to do. We are distracted by our devices. So we have to be mindful of our environment. We have to pay close attention to our surroundings, observe the people and the vehicles around us, and any unusual activity. We can develop our observational skills, and you can also teach your children to develop their observational skills. I remember when I was much younger, I engage in the game I Spy. And it may seem to be just a simple childhood game, but it can significantly enhance our situational awareness by encouraging us to be mindful of our environment. We train our mind to constantly scan our surroundings and identify potential risks. When you are situationally aware, you exude a lot more confidence, and that can deter offenders from approaching you. You can quickly identify escape routes and you can quickly find safe havens. As stated before, sometimes we are distracted by our devices, so we have to try and minimize those distractions. We need to avoid excessive use of the phone when we are out in public. And also, if we're going to use our earbuds, you use one. Oftentimes, the earbuds nowadays, they're noise canceling. So when you have both in, you're not able to hear what is happening around you. And sometimes the first signal we get to something that is going wrong is the change in the sounds within your environment. The next thing we need to do is to trust our instincts.
Go ahead.
If something feels wrong, then more than likely something is wrong. And if you feel that something is off, you can change your route, you can seek immediate help. And I'll go back to when I lived in Spanish Town for about 5-6 years. And I have never been caught in the town when there's a shooting, because there's certain changes within your environment. Sometimes it's nothing physical, it's just a feeling. And if you have a feeling that something is wrong, listen to that feeling. We need to also be aware of when we're traveling. We need to stick to well-lit, populated areas, as criminals are less likely to attack in those areas because of the fear of detection. Avoid secluded shortcuts. When I was growing up, I was taught long road draw sweat, shortcut draw blood. And I always remember that the presence of other people, will also act as a deterrent to criminals. When using public transportation, be observant of your surroundings, look at your fellow passengers, avoid unofficial taxis, what we call robots, as they are often unregulated and may pose security risks. If you see something, say something. Report any suspicious activity, even if you may not view it as being something important. Once it is out of the norm, report it to the appropriate authorities. So those are just a few daily tips that you can use to enhance your safety.
Indeed. And as we said, we're keeping it practical because we want you to get into action as soon as this forum wraps. All right. So you spoke earlier about collaboration, ASP. Can you share any success stories of how citizens, neighborhood watch, business watch groups have collaborated with law enforcement to create safer communities?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you clearly.
Any success story that you have to share with us, how citizens through their groups, Neighborhood Watch or Business Watch, have collaborated with law enforcement to create safer communities? Or if no stories, how can these groups partner? Still not hearing? Not sure what's going on there.
I'm not sure if you're hearing me, Mrs. Whittle.
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me now?
No, I'm not hearing you clearly.
All right, we're looking at partnership. How can citizens, neighborhood watch, business watch groups collaborate with law enforcement to create safer communities?
Okay, hearing you now.
Okay,
so
great.
When we look at community safety and security, oftentimes we tend to view it as the role of only the police, but maintaining safety and security is not just a job for our security forces. It requires the input of the community members and different community entities. Citizens, neighborhood watch groups, and business entities, other civic groups, they play crucial roles in creating safe communities. And we can do this through collaboration. Whilst we would like to be in as many communities as we possibly can be, unfortunately, we don't have the manpower for that. And so we are reliant on the community to assist us in policing the different spaces. Now, community collaboration fosters community engagement. And we can do this through one, our neighborhood watch groups. Our neighborhood watches empower residents to actively observe their surroundings and report any suspicious activity. It encourages them to work together to enhance community safety. The efforts of neighborhood watch groups have assisted the police greatly in the past, as it has assisted us in recovering stolen motor vehicles and also foiling break-ins. Some instances, it has helped us to recover persons who have been abducted, and it has also assisted us in seizing stolen property. Community engagement and working with our communities also facilitate participation in community-led policing efforts. These may include our town hall meetings, community walkthroughs, widely publicized meetings, and violence intervention strategies. And these have assisted in creating safer community. For instance, we have Project Star over in Clarendon, in the communities of Treadlight, Racetrack, and Havana Heights, and this has greatly assisted in reducing crimes there through our social intervention programs. Partnership also involves investing in youth development programs such as youth clubs. It fosters safer communities because these endeavors channel young people towards more positive alternatives, which reduces the risk of involvement in crime. It reduces the risk of deviant behavior, and it also fosters a stronger sense of community. Partnership with community entities also assist in crime prevention as we share safety and security tips. One prime example is what we are doing now. This forum is often used each month. We invite various experts and stakeholders who come in, and we discuss matters impacting the safety and security of our communities in Area 3, and also to offer tips on how we can better uplift our communities. Community partnership also supports information sharing that enables crime analysis and strategic planning. This includes details about crime patterns, identifying potential offenders, potential victims, pinpointing problem areas within our communities. And this information is very valuable to us as law enforcement officers, as it helps us to deploy our resources in areas where they're most needed and to tailor crime prevention efforts to address the specific concerns within particular communities, because not all communities have the same concerns. So when we're aware of what is happening within communities, we're better able to tailor our response. We're able to make more informed decisions about resource allocation and our crime fighting strategies.
All right, a lot of benefits and opportunities there for us to work together to make 2025 our safest year yet, and we can do it, but not alone. We have to work together. All right, so we're going to transition into home security, protecting what matters to us. In addition to our personal security, we need safety, we need to look at our home security. So what are some simple and cost-effective ways families can secure their homes in 2025?
Our home security can be significantly enhanced through some very simple activities. One, invest in good locks and solid doors, especially your external doors, and also your burglar bars. My brother always say it may not stop someone from coming in, but it will delay them. And that delay can give you sufficient time to call for assistance or to remove yourself from the situation. We should also practice to trim overgrown shrubs and trees close to our windows and doors and entryways or gates to improve visibility. It eliminates the potential for intruders or attackers hiding in spots and allow for better observation of your property by your community members and your neighbors. We can also minimize other hiding spots such as dense bushes. We can do debushing in our communities and remove abandoned vehicles that can be used as potential hiding spots as well. We need to also utilize lighting to illuminate our walkways and entrances, as adequate lighting increases the possibility of detection and therefore may reduce opportunities for criminals as well as their motivation to attack you. We also need to be mindful of behaviors that can attract criminals to our property and avoid them. It is the age of information technology, and many of us like to post on social media. And we need to minimize how we display our belongings on social media. Avoid openly advertising the acquisition of new items, of expensive items on social media platform. Posting about your new purchases can alert potential criminals that valuables are within your home. Protect your location privacy. Refrain from excessively sharing your location on social media, which includes tagging your friend's location. This information can be used by criminals to determine when you're away from home and also when you're most vulnerable. Secure your sensitive information. When you dispose of personal documents, avoid discarding packages and let's say your credit card statements, your bank statements containing your personal information directly into the trash. You can shred them. You don't need a shredder. All you need is your hands. Tear them up. You use your scissors, cut them up. I don't encourage massive fires, but you can also burn them and shred any sensitive document. There is a psychological impact that you create when you have a community that is well maintained. And if our communities are well maintained, we encourage a sense of pride and ownership among residents. When residents feel a sense of pride in their community, they are more likely to be vigilant. They are more likely to report suspicious activity. Many of us may notice the difference between low income or what we would call non-established or poorly established community and those that are properly established. There are less crimes occurring in those established communities versus informal settlements.
All right, quite a bit and very practical tips shared there. Interestingly, when the flyer was shared, someone mentioned brought back when our grandparents would tie something on the doorknob before we had burglar bars and all those good stuff. Tie something on the doorknob. It will not stop anyone from coming in, but it will alert those on the inside that something is happening outside and they can call for support. So those are some practical things. So don't think about the fact that you might not be able to afford a security system alarm and all of that. These are some practical things that you can do to get it done. All right. So we mentioned, yes, go ahead.
There's one very cheap security system and alarm that you can acquire, and they're available right across Jamaica. Get a few dogs.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. Yes, they definitely alert you. All right. So, in the event of an emergency such as burglary, fire, or medical crisis, what are the critical first steps every household should take to ensure safety and an effective response?
When we have an emergency, oftentimes we have split seconds to react and respond. We don't have a lot of time. And so it is important for us to plan ahead. We must always be prepared. So for every household, we need to develop and practice our household emergency plan that outlines the roles of each individual in the household, the responsibilities, and what routes you will take to evacuate if you do need to evacuate. We need to be able to assess the situation and identify what type of emergency it is very quickly. Is it a fire? Is it a burglary? Are we having a medical emergency? What are the threats? Determine the level of danger and any immediate threat to life or threat to safety. You need to know your surroundings. Know whether you will find shelter in place, and oftentimes you are not able to exit the building. If, let's say, there's a shooting outside, you're unable to exit your home. What is the most secure room within the house in order to take cover? How do you call for help? Are you going to evacuate? If it is safe to do so, you may have to evacuate the premises immediately. If the decision is made to evacuate, identify potential escape routes and safe havens in your vicinity. Establish your primary route. What is the first route I'm going to take? But you also need to establish your secondary route. What if you are not able to access your primary route? You need to have an alternate. Know the numbers that you need to call for help. You need to know the number of your local police, your fire department, the hospital, your family doctor. Most times persons will call 119 and then we will get in touch with other resource persons, but especially if it's a medical emergency, sometimes it is very essential that you're able to get to medical professional as quickly as possible. When you make those phone calls, ensure that you are able to provide clear and concise information to the individuals. Know your location. What is your exact address? If the situation is that you don't know your exact address, you can give description of your surroundings. And please use permanent structures. Don't be like the person who went to live in Portmore. Use the garbage bin to mark his gate. The garbage truck came, moved the bin, and he was driving around for half the night, could not find his home. You must also know what type of emergency you're having, be able to describe the situation that you're in. Tell the responder how many persons might be involved. Describe the nature of or severity of any injuries. Know your family members' information, such as their date of birth, any critical information, example, do they have any allergies? Try and learn at least basic first aid. When emergency responders are on scene, if you are able to, meet and direct them. If it is safe to do so, show them the location of the emergency. Provide any relevant information to responders, such as the location of gas shutoff or any potential hazards, and be able to account for every member of your household. And finally, ensure that you always have an emergency kit on hand. This includes essential supplies like first aid supplies, your flashlight, batteries, if possible, portable radio or a backup cell phone. And always, always practice your regular drills. It may seem redundant, but as they said when we were growing up, practice makes perfect. It becomes second nature.
Well said. So there are your personal safety and home security practical tips and strategies for this evening. For those who joined just after we got started, Dr. Lavelle, Romeo, Mitchell, Kathleen Reed, Bernard, who commented, and the others who are on with us live. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those who are watching the replay, thank you for joining us. All right, so SP Melecia Morrison, our Territorial Officer for Area 3, makes way for Corporal Alex Pierce from out of JamaicaEye. Welcome, Corporal Pierce.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you my expertise as it relates to JamaicaEye.
Awesome. Right. So we're looking at public safety and technology with JamaicaEye. So for those who are unfamiliar with JamaicaEye, how does it enhance safety in public spaces, and what role does it play in crime prevention?
Right. So for those who are unaware, JamaicaEye is a public-private partnership comprising over 700 cameras spread across approximately 9 parishes in Jamaica. Now, we support the crime-fighting effort through detection of criminal activity, supporting investigations, and also monitoring live situations as they occur, and also assist with the deployment to know what we need, where we need it, and how it is supposed to be deployed. So that is how we support the crime fighting effort currently.
Fantastic. All right. And JamaicaEye has been around for quite a little while. Are there any real life example that you can share with us where it has played a critical role in solving a crime or preventing an incident from happening?
Absolutely, there are countless situations. Just last year alone, we would have covered over 560 incidents. But for me to be specific about one, I will use one that is quite publicized. I recall there was an incident where there was murder along Hollow Road, and the suspects were moving away from that location and we just covered community policing, and a member of the public called and gave us some information on the vehicle. We were able to successfully track that motor vehicle and then have it intercepted at the intersection of Hope Road and Trafalgar Road. That led to a standoff and a confrontation between these men who were armed. The police were able to successfully neutralize the threat to the public at the time. We were able to recover firearms, and those men were put before the courts with evidence that is irrefutable. And so that covers only one of many, many instances where we would have supported the crime fighting effort and deterred criminal activity.
Right. Well, that's a big one, and it's always great to hear the success stories, because we're wondering, all right, all these cameras are out there. Why is it that so many things are happening? But we're hearing now that it's actually working. All right, so we preach community involvement here at Serenity Resource Connector. So how can businesses and individuals participate in JamaicaEye, and what benefits do they gain from registering their cameras? For those who are already on the system, what are some of the benefits that they have shared?
Right. So the benefits, let's just start with the benefits. So the benefits are, first of all, you get to support the crime fighting effort without actually being required for court. So where your footage is used, it is not that Miss Brown's camera captured the incident. A camera from JamaicaEye would have captured footage, and so Miss Brown will never be subpoenaed come to court, or no warrants will be sent out for her to give evidence. The footage will speak for itself. That's just one advantage. Another advantage is where an incident is occurring at your location, the police will have knowledge of that, and we're able to deploy units. As many people may not know, but here at Police Emergency, we are able to monitor these situations, and so the information is readily available to the dispatchers to deploy units in order to act on any information. So it's almost as if you have a police permanently posted at your gate. And also, you get to have that level of security that without the police being physically there, but they are there keeping watch of your community. So those are some of the advantages. Now, how can you tap into the program? I will say this currently, as it is, the ministry is currently fine-tuning some aspects of the program. And as such, we have disabled the feature for persons to log on. However, when we would have completed the revision process, you would only need to go onto the website. You will check to ensure that your cameras meet a few specifications. And these may include, you want to ensure that your camera is an IP camera, Internet Protocol camera. And what this means is that you are able to, the camera that you have is able to connect to the internet. So that is one, that is one thing that you want to
We lost your video. Sorry, we lost your video.
Right. Just a second. Right.
You're back. There we go.
Great. So, right. So you want to ensure that your camera is an IP camera, Internet Protocol, which means that it is able to connect to the internet. For those persons who their setup is one that feeds directly into a monitor, unfortunately, those will not be able to subscribe to the program. But after you ensure that your camera meets that specification, you want to ensure that your camera is at least able to display at 720p, which is the resolution at which your camera would need to show. After that, you will go to our website, and then again, we have currently disabled the feature for you to log on. But when we return, you would simply go to the website. You will see the instructions which will tell you how to do. Actually, the website would be able to check to see if your setup meets the requirements. After that, you will simply fill out a very short form, and then our technicians will visit your location and have you set up and ready to go.
All right. So we would recommend that for those businesses that are looking to invest or reinvest in camera, they could reach out and get this specification so that they are all set when the registration resumes.
Right, absolutely. So that is something that will most definitely be publicized. And so as soon as we are ready, the information will be broadcast in the media that we are ready and we're taking the subscriptions to the program.
Amazing. So we are preempting so that we can all get ready to get on board. All right. I'm sure that this might be one of the frequently asked questions. How does JamaicaEye balance the need for public safety with respecting privacy concerns to maintain public trust?
Well, this is a big one. So first of all, the first thing is that our cameras are located in public places only. The cameras are public facing, and where a citizen, a private citizen, decides to share their feed with us, we will only require those feeds that are facing a public thoroughfare. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that our physical servers, those are located in what, if not one of, is the most secured place in Jamaica. That is for sure. Now, as it relates to footage and how we utilize it, there is a strict protocol that is currently in place, which deals with how the CCTV operators treat with the footage, how the applications are to be made, and all of this must be verified by an officer at the station or the division who's making the request, it must then come to an officer here at Police Emergency, who will then authorize the release of that footage to any detective. And then after that, when you are visiting this location, it is secured via a 3-stage biometric authentication just to get into the building. And then after that, no cell phones are allowed inside the center. So no one is able to use your cell phone and record anything. Anyone who works inside here who does that, it will constitute a breach of policy. And that is not something that is handled lightly. And so far, we have been around for, I believe, 6 years now. We're just about 6 years, and we have not had any situations where there has been a major breach in terms of privacy. So that's something that we continue to ensure that never happens. We do not want for any breach of the system. So as it relates to privacy, that is something that we take very seriously here at JamaicaEye.
Fantastic. All right. And of course, we have questions. All right, Dr. Level. So let's take these questions. Are there plans to utilize more drones in populated high-density area and marine life areas?
Right. So as we speak, I am certain that the SO division or the Special Operations Unit are in possession of drones. And so we know the technology is currently being used. It's not all that publicized, and that's why we are happy to have forums such as these, which allow us to educate the public more on what we do. So yes, I'm pretty sure, well, I know for a fact that the technology does exist and it is within the JCF being used. And so it may not be something that is highly publicized, but I can tell you for sure that yes, we do have drones that are utilized.
All right, Dr. Level again. Walter Level, are drones more effective than patrolling hotspots?
Oh, so that's another question?
That's another question, if they're more effective for hotspots.
Well, here at my section, if I'm to be 100% honest with you, I do not work with the drone unit. But in theory, absolutely yes, because we know that there are those cases where some communities are so structured that they have persons to report when the police is patrolling the area and such. As a result, the drones allow for an opportunity for us to look into that area and know what's happening without persons can look and say, hey, police are come. And so, yes, absolutely, drones do allow for us to patrol in a much more effective manner and to have an idea of what's happening before operations are launched in a particular area.
Great. All right. So for those who are currently on, or even if you're watching the replay at this point, stay tuned to the end so that you can share in the survey for those specific areas. If it is that you want us to get someone from that particular division to come in and share, feel free to share. There's an option there for you to share the different areas that you'd want us to cover in this space. So you can share that in the survey coming up later. So let's bring back on ASP Morrison. So if there are questions that you have for coming out of Area 3, general questions for ASP Morrison, you can go right ahead and ask. If there are other questions regarding JamaicaEye, Corporal Pierce is here. So you can go ahead and share your questions. But while you get your thoughts together, all right, Corporal Pierce, let's go ahead and share one key piece of advice or insight for attendees or viewers to prioritize safety in 2025.
Well, I actually have a few that I would like to share.
Go right ahead.
Right. So the first is embrace technology. Now we know that criminals are actually utilizing technology, and as such, we must also do the same to protect ourselves. Now, for those persons who have gone ahead and they would have installed cameras at their residence, this is something that I have noticed, and I'd want to put out there for persons to know. Now, a lot of persons or the technicians install the cameras in such a way that you're able to see what is happening. So we cover the what. But we sometimes need for those cameras, you want at least one camera that will cover entrances, that is able to see faces. So it must be so zoomed and so positioned that once someone comes in or they're lurking around the area, you are able to see who that person is. So it should be something that necessarily, once we crop in and look at it, the picture becomes so distorted because it was not zoomed in the first place to capture a clear image of the face. Also, another one, if you're mounting cameras which will show the roadway, it would be a good idea to also have cameras that will capture license plate, because this is a critical piece of information that can be used to assist you and also your community at large, being able to see what motor vehicle, not just the type of motor vehicle, the make and the model, yes, that is useful, but also being able to see the license plate. Very critical piece of information, because when you reach for that information and you call the police and you give that to us, trust me, we can work wonders with that piece of information. Another thing, for those persons who have particular types of motor vehicles, so if you own maybe a Markex, a Probox, a Nissan AD wagon, and a Toyota Axios, you may want to take extra precautions to protect against those vehicles. I want to also mention staying in the know, but before I get there, this is something that would have also been publicized to state that these motor vehicles tend to be those that are targeted by motor vehicle thieves quite frequently. Now, again, you want to take extra precautions with those vehicles, but at least one thing that I know that you probably can do. So, as I mentioned, the criminals, they're using technology. They may have a device called the Flipper Zero, which can be used to skim the signal from your keys. Now, you have what is called a Faraday cage, which is something that blocks all kinds of signals. And so if you store your key inside of that, while it is stored inside there, it's very difficult for the criminals, well, near impossible for them to skim the signal. So that is something that you can consider. It's not very expensive. It's very, very cheap, but very effective for those, in those cases where it is your signal that is being used to gain access to your motor vehicle. Again, you want to stay in the know. You want to, again, come back here and catch every program and see what's happening, because the more you know is the more you're able to protect yourself against the criminals who go out. They have an itinerary, they go out, they know what they want, and they are hell-bent on getting their way. So you want to ensure that you're also prepared. So stay in the know. Continue to gather information about what's happening in Jamaica and think about how you can protect yourself.
Thank you so much. Great advice and insight. All right, ASP Morrison, go right ahead and share your piece of advice, insights, as we prioritize safety in 2025.
I will just leave you with a quote from Mr. Martin Niemöller. Hope I'm not crucifying his name. And he was a Nazi sympathizer in the early periods of the Nazis rising to power. Eventually, he became a critic of them and actually spent some time within one of their concentration camps. After being released, in a speech, he uttered the following words. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And I'm going to implore that you use these words as a reminder that threat to any group is a threat to all of us. Crime, no matter what form it takes, does not only impact the victim, it undermines the safety and security of our entire communities, of our country. When we remain silent in the face of criminality and injustice, we silently consent to the gradual erosion of our collective rights, our freedoms, our safety, and our security. Therefore, our safety and security is the responsibility of all of us. We all have a role to play in our communities, and we need to be actively engaged within our communities. We need to ensure that we participate in our community affairs and speak out against injustice. Don't just speak out when the police come in to say that, hey, why are you here? But if you know something, pass the information on. If you are not confident in giving it to the police, there are numbers that you can call. There is 311, you can call 119, speak to your justices of the peace, your pastors. Many of us have Indicom on speed dial. Don't just use them to report the police, but you can also pass information to them. I'm sure that they will get it to us. So I'm going to implore that we all work together to ensure that we create safe communities and protect our environment, our freedoms, not only for us, but for those who will come after.
Well said. Well said. And as we shared earlier, all right, we keep the momentum going. But I'm going to ask you before you go, whether you're here with us live or watching the replay, to take a moment to share your feedback with us. The survey link is in the comments, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. Go ahead and share your feedback with us so that we can continue to improve on the information that we share in this space. And we do community safety and security every second Thursday. And here's the schedule for January. Let me bring this down a bit. Just check the comments for the link to complete the survey. It will only take a moment, so you can go right ahead while you listen to complete for us. All right, so today's Thursday, January 9th, and we're having community safety and security. So coming up next, Tuesday the 14th, our Youth Empowerment Forum. That's an expansion of our quarterly Youth Empowerment Forum. Our youth says they want more space on the platform to share. Thanks for Juicy Patties for coming on board this year again to make this possible. We also have Community Corner coming up next Thursday, the 16th. And we also have another new series, the Child's Rights series with the Early Childhood Commission coming up on Tuesday, the 21st of January. Then we move over to our usual fourth Thursday, local governance and community development on the 23rd. And we close out January with our community conversations, which we started last December. And that comes to us on Tuesday, January 28th. Look out, connect with us, of course, the social media platform, and look out for this schedule for each month. But if you don't want to miss any of these, go ahead and subscribe. Follow us for the notification so that you can get the reminders when we are going live. So you can join us, as Corporal Pierce said, so that you can stay informed. And the more informed you are, the safer you will be, the safer your homes, communities will be, and the less crimes we will have. So we won't have to be challenging those figures as to whether they are reduced or not, because we will be a part of the change that we want to see. Let me thank you, Corporal Alex Pierce, from the Police Emergency Communications Center, or some officer in charge of JamaicaEye, for coming on board to share your expertise with us. your soup for us for making this possible. And we look forward to further collaborations with not just JamaicaEye, but the other specialists across the JCF. SP Melecia Morrison, thank you so much, our Territorial Officer for Area 3, for kickstarting the Community Safety and Security Forum for 2025. A lot more work for us to do, but it is all good work, rewarding work, as we seek to keep our citizens informed and empowered to be safer and act smarter. And for those of you who are able to join us live, thank you so much. For those who are watching the replay, thank you. Remember to share the replay. The link is there. All the forums from we started this Safety and Security Forum from 2022, all of them, there's a playlist there for community safety and security. You can catch all the replays. So while you're driving, you can put it on autoplay and just listen in as you drive. Don't watch, just listen. All right. Oh, we have a few more minutes, so let's take this one. Has the theft of cameras decreased or increased in 2024? Why is it so easy for criminals to do this being undetected? That's probably when you were sharing earlier, Corporal Pierce, about the theft. All right. SP Morrison, what action can be enforced to reduce motorcycle fatalities? Oh, interesting one.
Yes, one of the issues that we do have is that with our motorists, we are aware of the terrible road conditions, and sometimes we have to be dodging potholes. I think we would do well in an Olympic sports of pothole dodging. So it is very important for us to use the road safety, reduce our speeds. Motorcyclists need to wear their helmets. They need to ensure that the vehicles are, the motorcycles are fit to be operating. There's some motorcyclists sometimes modify these vehicles, and that modification can cause mechanical issues that can lead to accidents. Oftentimes as well, how they traverse the roadways, they don't believe that they should remain in a lane. So they will ride in between motor vehicles. And sometimes by the time you see them, it is too late for you to avoid them, or it is too late for them to brake. So we have to encourage, especially the youngsters, these motorcycles, they're very cheap. Parents, ensure that if your child owns one of these, then they are licensed to be using it on the roadways and they wear their proper safety gear. If you are stopped by the police, it is your responsibility to stop. Do not try to evade. It is better for you to be prosecuted for a crime rather than for your family members to be mourning your death.
Well said. All right. Corporal Pierce, were you going to take that one? In terms of the theft of camera decreasing or increasing in 2024? Go ahead.
Right. Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. All right. So the question was, why is it so easy for criminals to go about their business? No.
Right.
Right. No. So let me be clear. They are not undetected. The truth of the matter is that the way the law works is that there are certain circumstances which we have to be certain of before we can move, and we will not be able to be involved in every single incident. But like I said before, we have amassed over the past year we have evidence in over 564 incidents, and that's no small feat. It's striking a balance. There's that part of it where our evidence comes into play after the fact, because we can't know everything, we can't know what's going to happen, but it's our ability to, after the fact, apprehend these criminals and ensure that we get them behind bars. The evidence should be strong enough so that when we go to court, we are able to secure a conviction. However, there is that part of it where there are those criminals that we continue to monitor, so that we're able to build a strong case and then get them before the courts, knowing that what we have on them is strong enough, because there is what we call reasonable suspicion, or there is that part of it where they are considered as a suspect, but what we have isn't enough for us to launch an operation. And so we continue to monitor them, and where we have everything that we need, that is when an operation is launched. So to say that they are undetected, it may be a misrepresentation of the truth. What happens is that we have to work within the limits of the law.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And let me thank you again, panelists, and also those who are joining us. I see persons joining. No, remember, you can continue to watch and pick up where you left off. So we encourage you to take the tips and strategies shared here and apply them to make 2025 your safest year yet. Because information remains information until you use them. That's when it takes effect. All right. So be sure to check out our blog recap on Monday for the resources we've shared. And that's at www.serenityresourceconnected.com. So the conversation doesn't stop here. So you can catch the highlights there. And please remember to complete the survey. Very quick, doesn't take a lot of time, to share with us so that we can continue to improve in this space. Thanks once more, and it's always my pleasure to serve you here in this capacity. So continue to have yourself a fantastic rest of the night.